Everyone talks about toxic relationships, but nobody really talks about toxic friendships. And sometimes, the person you trust the most, the person you call your best friend, slowly turns out to be the one who's been using you all along. Today's story is about my first best friend in engineering college. Everyone remembers their first college best friend. The person you meet when everything is new, when you're nervous, alone, and trying to figure out where you belong. For Vidya, that person was Shiksha. But what started as a beautiful friendship slowly turned into something that left Vidya feeling used. And the strange thing is, at the time, she didn't even realize it. This all started during first year of engineering college, right in the middle of COVID. So technically, nobody had actually met in person yet. Everything was online. Classes were on Zoom, cameras were off most of the time, and honestly, most students barely paid attention. Vidya was one of them. She would log into lectures, mute everything, and just let the class run in the background. She wasn't very social online and didn't really try to make friends. Shiksha, however, was the exact opposite. She was the kind of person who always had her camera on, always answering questions, participating in activities, joining student groups. She was everywhere. Everyone in the class seemed to know her. Somehow, through class chats and group discussions, Shiksha and Vidya started texting each other. And surprisingly, they clicked almost instantly. They started talking more and more, first about classes, then about random things, then about life. Soon they were texting almost every day. It became one of those unexpected online friendships where you start feeling really close to someone you've technically never met. And both of them kept saying the same thing. I can't wait to meet you when college finally opens. Finally, after almost a year of online classes, the hostels reopened. And they met for the first time. And honestly, the beginning of their friendship felt perfect. Vidya spent a lot of time in Shiksha's hostel room. They talked for hours, shared stories about their lives, laughed about random college drama, and slowly became inseparable. Around that time, Neelam, who you might remember from the How My Best Friend Stole From Me story, also became friends with them. So the three of them started hanging out together a lot. Late-night walks, mess hall gossip, random hostel conversations that go on until 2 a.m. It felt like the classic college friendship phase everyone dreams about. But slowly, something started shifting. Neelam was the first person to notice it. Over time, she started distancing herself from Shiksha. At first, she didn't say anything. But one day, while sitting in Vidya's room, she finally spoke honestly. She told Vidya that something about Shiksha's behavior didn't sit right with her anymore. She said Shiksha could sometimes be selfish, manipulative, and not always truthful. Vidya didn't want to believe that. Because from her experience, Shiksha had been nothing but a good friend. So she brushed it off. But she quietly kept those words somewhere in the back of her mind. A few months later, something happened that made her start seeing things differently. It was exam season. And if you know engineering students, you know the classic routine. Nobody studies the entire semester, and suddenly everyone starts studying the night before the exam. Vidya was trying to change that habit. She wanted to improve her GPA and actually focus properly. One evening, Shiksha showed up at her room saying she wanted to study together. Vidya wasn't very comfortable with that. She had always been someone who studied better alone, because silence helped her concentrate. But she didn't want to be rude. So she said Shiksha could sit with her and look at her notes. That one evening turned into almost the entire exam week. Every day Shiksha would show up. But instead of studying seriously, she would constantly talk, complain about how difficult everything was, ask random questions, and sometimes even joke about how they could cheat in the exam. Vidya tried to stay patient. She helped her understand topics, shared notes, explained concepts. Even though deep down, she just wanted to sit quietly and study. But she told herself, it's okay, she's my friend. Then came the last exam. For this particular subject, Vidya didn't have proper notes. So she messaged Shiksha asking if she could send the notes or tell her where she got them from. And that's when something unexpected happened. Shiksha didn't reply. Not before the exam. Not after the exam. In fact, she didn't even ask how the exam went. Vidya had to get the notes from another friend, and that was the moment something inside Vidya shifted. During the entire week, she had gone out of her way to help Shiksha. But when she needed something small in return, Shiksha didn't even bother responding. That's when Vidya started noticing the pattern. Shiksha would appear whenever she needed something, notes, help, emotional support. And then she would disappear again. Days would go by without any contact. Slowly, Vidya stopped putting in the same effort. She never refused to help completely. But she stopped sacrificing her own time and energy just to make things easier for Shiksha. Around that time, Vidya and Neelam became very close friends. The two of them naturally started spending more time together. They became their own little duo, and of course, over the course of college got many more friends. One time Shiksha came over to the two of them and said, "You guys are hanging out without me these days, let's plan something together." To this, neither of them really responded and laughed it off, and Shiksha didn't bother to stretch it as well since maybe she knew somewhere it was her own doing. And Shiksha slowly drifted away. There was no big fight. No dramatic confrontation. Just quiet distance. Later in college, Vidya had conversations with other classmates who had also been close to Shiksha. And interestingly, many of them described very similar experiences. They said she had a habit of becoming extremely close to people when she needed something, and then slowly moving on once the benefit was gone. That's when Vidya realized something. Neelam had probably seen the signs much earlier. In the end, Vidya wasn't angry. Just a little sad. Because Shiksha had been her very first college best friend. But she decided not to carry any bitterness. Some friendships teach you comfort. Others teach you boundaries. And sometimes, the first lesson of college isn't in a classroom. It's learning who truly deserves your friendship. And the funny part, even today, people say Shiksha is still exactly the same. Very charming. Very social. And very good at getting exactly what she wants. Whether that's a skill or a flaw. Well, that depends on who you ask. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the story and want more such college or hostel stories.